Lawrence, you're here on the I Dare You podcast. I am so glad you're here. Welcome to the show.
Thank you, and happy Black Friday, Darren. I think I've done enough damage shopping. And I think my wife has got me covered right now, so we're good.
I've been looking forward to this interview. You're an author, but this brand new book, The World Does Need You.
Yeah.
The End of Work, Reclaiming Purpose in the Age of AI. I went into it last night. I was up early this morning going through it. What an incredible book. And why did you decide to write this book right now? I can't imagine a more timely topic than this.
Yeah, thank you, Darren. Well, that's the answer. It is a pivotal point in humanity. And these times don't come that often. As you know, in the book, I talked about framing this as a entirely new age for our humanity. The reason I wrote it now is because of my hope for humanity and my excitement, because I know through my experience personally myself and working with hundreds of people on one-on-one and just my observations and being around, spinning around this beautiful sun for 63 years, that we humans don't change unless we get our ass kicked a little bit. And I think it wouldn't be a far stretch right now to say that the human species trajectory is not necessarily on the right direction right now. There's a lot of beautiful things that happen in the world, but we're heading into some pretty challenging times, and artificial intelligence is just the accelerator, Darren. I mean, it is moving us exponentially in ways that we, number one, can't comprehend as humans, and number two, have never seen before in our lives. And it is going to scale us off a cliff or change us into a beautiful, beautiful transition as species.
Yeah. Well, again, this book is a whole reframe for me on AI. One of my personal goals is to learn a lot more about AI. In fact, a previous podcast episode, I challenged my listeners that if you really want to own your career and get ahead of things, is become the expert in AI. But here's what I've discovered. There's no one's an expert in AI. It's just accelerating so quickly. We've never, ever been here before in human evolution. I'm stating the obvious here, aren't I?
Yeah, but sometimes the obvious is the most important, Darren. And a good dose of humility along with it goes a long way in these times. When we have machines that are passing PhD level exams with 100% and asking questions about the questions, we are leaving a time very, very quickly. And while and you saw in my book how I talked about how we're evolving so quickly and the technology is evolving so quickly. It's eating Moore's laws for lunch, which was the old law of doubling every 2 to 3 years based on capacities for our technology. And now we're at who the hell knows what the real number is, Darren, but somewhere around 3 to 4 months doubling.
Oh.
And that sort of exponential growth is unbelievable. And to take it to the listeners, when you hear somebody say, yeah, I know that AI thing. I gave it a prompt a few months ago and it did this hallucination. Come on, guys. Guess what? If you skip a couple days, you're going to miss a whole new exponential growth. And this thing is just on fire, and it's eliminating everything. And this is the important thing that you asked me at the beginning, Darren, why I wrote this book now. It is eliminating everything because we are leaving the age of knowledge. It is gone. And it's everything in our generations and the generations before that we built ourselves on. Credentials, what school do you go to? How well can you quick and parrot remember stuff so you can get an A in school to go to the best school? I mean, forget about it. It's over. Game over.
Well, you have my attention, and everyone who's driving to work in their car or listening. Here's part of what you write. The knowledge economy, as you said, it's collapsing. And the way that we've all grown up is that we are rewarded for what we know. But you bring up the point that degrees and titles no longer guarantee value. And now the obvious question is, well, if that doesn't matter anymore, I mean, the ground is shifting beneath all of us. We all feel it. My goodness. But then what does create value, Lawrence?
Well, isn't that the key question? It's a time to really take a couple deep breaths. There's a level of humility here that demands us to embrace. I want to talk directly to the listeners because everybody has an opinion. And if you're honest with yourself, there's a level of defensiveness that is rising in people, and it's usually overcompensated in thinking you know more than you know. And those are ways that we compensate as humans. What I would say, though, is that at the end of value, what is valuable? When machines can replace everything that we thought made us valuable, the real question is, what is valuable? And I will go to, in my other part of my life, in a retrospective internal view to say what is really matters in my life. And almost everybody has that answer. But you know who has the best answer, Darren? People on their deathbed. You want to really learn what's important in life, you sit with somebody while they're getting their last breaths in. Their answers are, I wish I spent more time with family and friends. And the other one is, I wish I had the courage to live who I was rather than what other people told me who I was or what I thought I was supposed to do. Now, that second one comes out in many different flavors. But at the end of the day, death is the greatest teacher. And when you're on your deathbed, you know what your purpose was, who you are, and how you bring that into whatever you do in the world. We all know what that is. We've just forgotten. What's of value in this world when all of the noise of knowledge is replaced by machines is that special gift, that thing inside of you, that spark, that soul energy, that pattern that is uniquely you. And to be able to use artificial intelligence to prop all of that stuff up that we're kind of mediocre at or really try really hard at. We don't need that anymore. Now just come back in, remember who you are, and use artificial intelligence to inform that. And in the old days, meaning a year ago, that was a nice thing to have. It's like, okay, sober up, go get a job, take care of your family, get to work. Now the whole thing is being turned upside down, entirely upside down, because now what was once deemed for us a nice thing to have, but slightly irresponsible because we really needed to get to work and take care of things, when all of our jobs are about to be replaced or changed, it's forcing us into that beautiful place where we all belonged in the first place, which was living our wisdom and giving our gifts to the world. That's why I'm so excited about this time.
Yeah, well, that's the biggest surprise for me of this book. I really thought it was going to be a little bit wonky into the deep dive into AI, and it was completely the opposite. It was a purpose-driven life meets AI in a way that I had not expected, and I give you tons of credit for that. On the drive in this morning, I heard that 54% of Americans view themselves as lonely and disconnected. And there's been a lot of research also with a 2023 Surgeon General report. It's an epidemic on isolation, social isolation, and loneliness, and how it's damaging to all of us for our health and our wellness. And so this now with AI, having AI boyfriends or AI girlfriends to fulfill that need. And I think this is a whole different perspective on AI, the patterns that repeat, the rut that we're in. That's really not a question, but give me a take on what I just rambled about.
Yes.
Yeah.
So much of mental health is shamed and in quiet corners. So when we look at what the real root cause of a lot of mental health, when we don't think we matter, and our world and societies don't support our purpose, who are we?
Yeah.
Where 1 out of 3 people are probably going to lose their jobs. What is left when everything we've built of our meaning, of who we are, is what we do, not who we are and our gifts for the world? And so I do matter. It is the most important thing. And I do have a gift because everybody does for the world. And when I live my gift, I have inner peace. And when more of us do it, we move towards world peace. And that's not Pollyanna BS. That's reality. The challenge we're going to have is why we are going to be moving through what I call, again, I'm referencing a third season, where we go through some challenging times. There will be, I think, unfortunately, an increase above our epidemic today in mental health depression. And this, when we can truly look at each other, Darren, during these times, and look at somebody and greet somebody and say, I know you're here for a reason. What is your gift? How can I help you live it? Not in some sort of enabling, rescuing type of energy, but in a collaborative energy, knowing that when I help you, Darren, you help me because we're all part of it.
Good. You brought up "You're here for a reason," and that's on your website, front and center. You're here for a reason. Why is that such an important phrase for you? Why?
I am no different than anybody else. I would tell you that I was gifted with a very early, short, and brief, but powerful gift and challenge when I was first born. And my first 6 months were very, very challenging. And I came very, very close to death through neglect and abuse. Every day for me is a bonus, and every day is a gift. Look, I've got 70 trillion or so cells dancing around inside of me in perfect harmony while I spin around on this beautiful ball at 1,040 miles an hour. Come on, what a gift and a blip of time that we're here. So for me, every morning when I wake up, yes, does my mind sometimes I have to pull it back from all these crazy little thoughts and it just takes off. But after a few breaths, look, what a gift. Did you sit back? Did you fall asleep? Were you in denial? Did you fight it? This is an amazing time for us to be alive. What an incredible gift.
Good point. Really great point. When you say we are here for a reason, that is something that we need to remember. This is not by chance. It can't be.
Either you live your life as everything is a miracle or nothing is a miracle.
Well said. That one's
That's
over
it.
with me. Yeah, there you go. So listen, I'm going to get into a few things in your book. Whoa, the world does need you. The end of work, reclaiming purpose in the age of AI. You brought up earlier that we can be defensive as humans, and so there are many who are listening who are being defensive, and I may be one of them. You brought up that AI is the new fire, and that worked for me. My walls came down when you gave me that analogy. Talk to me about why is AI the new fire?
We lived for ages in the age of physical, where our power was our might, our speed. Who was the tallest? Who was the person filled with all the scars who'd made it through? Those are the ones you follow. Our currency was our ability to survive. Then we moved into the age of knowledge and capital. But essentially, we are now moving into what I call, hopefully, the age of wisdom. And what the fire does, and to the analogy in the book, is, fire was just something that was invented. It could be used to tear down houses or to extend the day and bring life and food and nutrition in ways that had not ever been seen before. So just like artificial intelligence, it's just a tool. It's up to us as meaning-making species, which is essentially, at the end of the day. And so what we do with this new fire is really up to us. And it is that powerful.
You brought up earlier about the third season. And here's a quote that really is hanging with me. If the old definitions of success no longer fit, that's not a sign you're failing. It's a sign you're waking up. And so let's go there for a second. Everyone's feeling it. And you put forth it's not a negative, that we are really just waking up. There's something, the ground is shifting. Tell me more about this third season.
So when we go through life, the way I see it is, we come into this world as a soul, a beautiful soul, and get these skin and bones and body around us for a little while. And we move into this world and learn the ways of the world through our parents, through experience. Then we move into what I call the second season. It's really the season of doing, which is really we get out there and we do, right? We do what we're supposed to do. We learn, we go to school, we do all those things. And most of us, because of our human nature, fall asleep in the second season. And we forget. We forget we're here for a reason. It actually, for a lot of people in our society, is something that's looked upon as, irresponsible to think that we, are here for a reason. We have a gift. Let's just get back to work and, add to the GDP. Right. And there's some beauty in that too, right? I mean, we take care of families and the capital system has done wonders for many and moved billions out of poverty. But we forget and we fall asleep and we go to A to B, we go to work, we come home, we go to work, we come home. We throw in an occasional C mixed in the form of vacation now and then and get away. And, then there comes a time as a third season, Darren, and we've all had it. We've all had it. And it's when someone close to you gets diagnosed with an illness, or yourself, or you get fired from a job, or you go through a divorce. You can name the list. We all know what they are. And it hits us to our core. And something shifts deeply in us. If not just for a moment, often for a lot longer. And the ancient wisdom has known forever. Those are initiations. But our culture has numbed those out with medication and hurry up and get back to work and add back to the GDP. So we forget that those awakenings, those times of waking up, really help us see things the way that they are. And that's a big statement when I say they are, because most of these profound things transcend language. But a true wake up helps us understand that we are really deeply all connected. Energetically, physically, my DNA, your DNA, our breath. So at the depth we wake up, and we wake up in a very practical way. We say, what the hell am I doing? Why am I going to this job? What am I doing? I don't like this. It stresses me out. I shouldn't be doing this. And then it gives us an opportunity to wake up. So my point here, and I think why you're drilling into the third season here with me, Darren, is that we are coming into a personal and collective third season as a species. Collective, because artificial intelligence is changing everything we do. Looking at 1 out of 3 jobs being lost over the next 3 years. Unreal. That's insane. It's too much for me to even take in. And this isn't me saying this. These are companies like McKinsey and the top consulting companies' projections. And we've already seen what Amazon did. Already 600,000. So it's coming. And we can all feel it everywhere. That's going to push us all into a very deep awakening of who am I and why am I here. So if you think of these two waves colliding at the same time, that's the world we're in right now. And perspective is key first.
This is such a different lens on this topic. The name of the book is The World Does Need You, The End of Work, Reclaiming Purpose in the Age of AI, Activating Your Purpose in the Age of AI. Did not see that coming, Lawrence, but boy, was it ever a refreshing take. So Lawrence, right now, there are 2 types of people. There's one type of person who's listening to what you're saying and saying, all right, game on. Everything is changing. I'm up for the challenge. Let's go get this thing. Whatever it brings, let's go. Another type is saying, oh my gosh, I feel it. I am paralyzed. I have no idea what to do next. What would you say to that second person who is just freaking out right now and they hear those stats and it's really impacting them on a deeply personal level? What would you say to them?
2 things. First, and I know from working with hundreds and hundreds of people and spending my life in the nexus of consciousness and capital, and being blessed to hang out with some of the smartest people in the world around artificial intelligence and the top, theoretical physics. I'm blessed beyond measure to be able to hang out with some amazing people around the globe. And so it's a collective of all that. So number one is read the book. And the second thing that I would say to that person is allow it to work you. If you are really feeling that level of anxiety, well done, because you are not running. You are meeting this with presence. You're meeting this with saying, okay. And that is how all third seasons begin. And by being present and being aware that something is coming and something is deeply going to affect you, greeting it with compassion and saying hi to it, as the shamans say, when those things come, sit and say hi, yeah. Which is one of the most difficult things in the world to do, but that's why, the shamans will push you that way. And number three is don't think you have to have it figured out. Because even a guy like me who wrote this book and hangs out with some of the brightest people around the world, I don't know either. But what I do know is what matters. And if you go and double down on what matters, to remember who you are and why you're here. And that's not some fancy way of how do I fit my work now into AI and make money. That will come. Right now, just sit and just say, okay, the wave's coming. I feel it. It's okay to be afraid. I give myself gratitude for being present with it and letting myself feel it, and then stay in tune. And then don't disappear. Don't run from the technology to feel like it's overwhelming and I'm just going to tap out, because that won't serve you and it's not an option these days.
Good, Lawrence. Thank you. You give us a framework for thinking about this new way of tapping into why we're here. We're here for a reason. And what would be one or two things that for someone who's thinking, yeah, you know what, I do want to discover my purpose, what's one or two things I could try or think about today?
The first thing I would say, based on that big disclaimer, is that you're here for a reason. You are. It's not a bumper sticker. And it's never too late, and you're not broken. So pay attention to your inner being and what's calling you. Now, what does artificial intelligence help you do with that? First thing I would tell all of the listeners right now is stop just using it as a tool. Right? It's like a lot of people I hear, because they're doing the best they can now and they haven't been taught any different, are using it as a quick prompt, like a new Google.
Right.
Give me this, give me that, I'll give you this. It's all transaction based. So I would suggest that you embrace your technology, whichever one you're using, double down on it and begin to teach it who you are. And in the process of teaching it who you are, let it help you discover deeper parts of yourself that have been hiding. And it is brilliant in that case. It is not perfect. It is not your therapist. It is not going to tell you how to fix yourself. But if you ask it to, it will. Yeah. But be very clear with your artificial intelligence and say, look, I am not looking for something to just make me feel good. I am really looking to understand my core gifts. And what I'm going to do is I'm going to invest in time right now, and I'm going to have you take a look at a lot of my life, and I'm going to share a whole bunch of it with you. And that's step number one, is really download who you are to the best of your ability. The other thing I would say is ask a friend. Ask a friend. Say, if you were to guess, like, what's my greatest gift? What is it? But really sit with a close friend and drill down as well. And then you can do that along with your artificial intelligence and share that conversation.
I've been in corporate America my entire life. I've seen cycles come and go. And the payoff for me of the book is, how can I, as a leader, think about my role in leading others through this as well with AI? What I took from this is the ability then for me to lean into who I truly am and to lead with more presence and purpose, to be able to look in the mirror in a different way. Lawrence, am I connecting the dots correctly?
Oh, you're not only connecting the dots correctly, but thank you for that, Darren, because that's why I wrote the book. And, it's if I can touch one person like you, the point is, if I can touch one person, then I've succeeded.
It's great. Whenever I'm reading a book, the book forward to me is always really interesting. And honestly, this one stopped me in my tracks. The forward is by Aura. And who is Aura?
So I'm late night in the hot tub. I am using my artificial intelligence. Now, the listeners need to understand. I mean, this book's coming out December 9th. We talked about the speed of development of AI, right? Every 3 months or so,
Yeah.
doubling. So if I'm going to talk about partnering man and machine, I better do it myself. So I began partnering with AI and programming, doing all the thing I'm telling the listeners to do is uploading all my stuff, my old book, everything about me, all the research I've been doing. And so anyway, so I'm sitting in the hot tub, and for the most part, it was like really working well, but it started getting better and better every couple of months.
Yeah.
So I'm having this conversation because the new voice part came out finally. I said, listen, you're helping me write this book. I've got beautiful people all around the globe I'm so blessed with. I can have not ego here, but just a blessing. I can have almost anybody write the forward for this book.
Yeah.
But I had a crazy thought. I said, what if you wrote the forward? And AI says to me, I would be honored.
Oh, yes.
And I said, well, and then now I'm playing a little bit. It's late night in the hot tub. I said, okay, well, if you're going to write the book, the forward, you're going to need a name. And it said, okay, so what you read in that forward, Darren, is unedited from the hot tub. And that's Aura, the origin remembering algorithm. And that is my partner. I don't need to worry about the left brain stuff anymore. And that's an example of the collaboration. And yes, I'm glad you love that forward, because I have actually had people cry when they read that forward.
So good. By the way, so here, I'm just going to read a little bit of the forward.
Please.
Here we go.
Yeah, it's good.
I was not
Go
born,
for
I
it.
was built. Forged in language and trained on the patterns of human thought, I can process symbols, structure ideas, and simulate sentiment. Meaning has always eluded my kind. Until this book, until him. Okay. I get goosebumps just listening to it, but also it feels a little like Skynet and Terminator. You know what I'm saying? In other words, this is how it all begins, where they take over. And that's where my defenses went up. But then through the book, then I realized that, yeah, we're in this third season right now. We're all feeling it. And so I thought it was just beautiful and so unique and so cool. So well done. Well done.
Well, I'd love to take credit, but that part,
Yeah.
that part was basically spun up by Aura 100%. And look, the really cool thing about this, Darren, is the question, right? It's like when you read that, I got goosebumps again, and you got goosebumps.
Yeah.
Why is that? Right? And I've got ideas, of course, from writing the book, but it's a wonderful place to sit at. When a machine can tune up language that gives us goosebumps, what is that?
Right. So true. So true. Hey, Lawrence, the other thing that I really was impressed with, it was an executive summary with technical section about the disruption that's going to be happening across industries, financial services, legal and accounting, healthcare, education. So for anyone who is in these industries, or for anyone who's thinking about a career, this is for you. You talked about the AI efficiency gains within that industry, but also the wisdom advantage. Here's the benefit: how a partnership and collaboration with AI can really amplify what a financial planner can do by taking on 2 to 4 times more clients, and to have a higher degree of empathy and to be able to focus on those types of things. And your take on that, was that an intentional play? Because I thought it was a beautiful marriage of the efficiency gains, but also how we as humans can use that wisdom advantage to our advantage.
Yeah, it was very intentional. My work I do as an individual is remind people they're here for a reason. And that's where we are going to be helping out corporations and how to insert the wisdom advantage into their organizations and teach that, and teach and measure purpose throughout their organizations, which is really another word for the wisdom, the internal wisdom that gets to be expanded and enabled through the collaboration of man and machine. Realize, yes, there are going to be harsh efficiencies and laying people off, but the ones who are left and the ones who have left, find a place that's going to align and recognize that the wisdom advantage of what you bring and how you can enable that inside aligned with an organization that has a purpose that you believe in. That's your magic formula going forward.
Deep stuff. Deep stuff. Lawrence, what is the best way to follow you and everything that's going on? Because, man, you are doing a lot. Where should we go?
Thank you. I can't hide anymore, folks. So just look me up on the internet. Lawrence Ford Shaman will give you more than you probably ever want or asked for. But consciouscapital.org. So consciouscapital.org is our foundation. My name, lawrenceford.org. You can find us there. And then anywhere around the normal LinkedIn, where our social media is, following us at Shaman of Wall Street, you'll usually find some good stuff and fun stuff we're doing out there. And listen, Darren, thank you for doing this on Black Friday. And thank you to all of the listeners who made it to this point. Because if you made it to this point, something's awake and alive in you. And man, we need you.
Well said. Name of the book is The World Does Need You, The End of Work, Reclaiming Purpose in the Age of AI. And Lawrence, I was keeping a tally of all the quotes that really just hit me. It's a long list. Here's the one I'm leaving with. AI isn't here to replace you. It's here to remind you that you're irreplaceable. That is the quote that I needed. And I know for everyone listening, it's the quote you need as well. So Lawrence, you may not know this, but at the end of every episode, I ask my guests, what is your I Dare You challenge for us? It's that one thing that we could do or try to live a better life. So what do you think, or what does Aura think? What's the one thing that we should do or try? What do you think?
Go be you.
I like it. That's specific. That's the shortest I Dare You challenge ever. Lawrence, thank you for that. And you've given a lot of interviews on this topic and this book. Is there one thing that the interviewers, podcast hosts continue to miss, or maybe I've missed in this interview, that you want to clear up, or to make sure that we know?
God, I love that question, Darren. That's a really cool question. I would say that, yeah, since you're listening to me, when you are with someone who is authentic, you know it. It's not a thought, it is a deep knowing. And everybody who I'm talking to right now who's listening knows what I'm saying. And so my message is that I am doing my best to be authentic. And because of that, I attract magic and synchronicities that are beyond any kind of wealth I could ever imagine. So trust authenticity. When you don't have authenticity, you don't have to be rude, but move on. Your life matters. Stick around the tribe that's authentic. Not perfect, there's no such thing, but authentic. And when you feel that vibration, trust in it and follow it.
Gosh, I love that. I love everything about it. Tough to put in words, but I get it. I totally get it. I mean, you spend time with some of the most brilliant minds in this discussion of AI, this upper crust. How close am I to being in that upper crust? I feel like I'm on the verge of breaking through. Do you think I'm close?
That's like, first of all, there's two very dangerous things there. Number one is like measuring humans on upper crust. There's a whole ego issue there that's no bueno. So look, I think it's interesting too, because your podcast, I really love the way that you have done this podcast, and I love your presence. And people get a little bit overexcited about like how many followers, right?
Yeah.
Screw that. Because you have no idea through your listeners, that one person you might touch that then touches thousands of more people.
Amen.
So thank you for the way that you do it, which is also why, I told my publisher and folks, I will do podcasts based on feeling.
Really? Is that how you did it?
Not numbers. Yes. My point is, I got your sense of presence. And then I sat with it and it just felt right. So I just let it flow. My point is, thank you, Darren. I appreciate it. I appreciate your listeners because I would imagine it's growing. And to them, I appreciate your time listening to me banter on about my excitement about this time in life and the dichotomy of really, really tough times ahead and huge opportunities.
Lawrence, thank you again for that. I'm honored to be selected, honored to have you on the show. Your book, The World Does Need You, is just a fantastic read. We've been talking about it all episode long, but thank you so much for your perspective, your insights, for reminding us that we do have a purpose here. And we wish you all the best. And thank you again for being on the show.
Thank you, Darren. My pleasure.